Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at my build for the Blue Legends Limited Super Saiyan Trunks Adult. Unlike Dokkan where he's still a teen apparently, but this is Super Saiyan Trunks Adult. And we're going to be taking a look at him after his Zenkai. And yeah, obviously, I love Trunks units. My goal is to eventually make a full Trunks team. I think that's like my next current goal. It's going to be hard because, it's always going to be hard. But the thing is, I think at the end of the day, he looks really, really solid. Like, he's looking really, really, really solid still. And he's a great closer. His kit kind of harks to him being a very good closer. In fights, especially when you're a unit or two down. So let's look at his abilities. So on his strike, he's got 30% chance to inflict bleed. On his blast, he restores his own ki by 10. On his special move, he gives increased special move damage to allies and buddies for 20 timer counts, which is really good. And he also draws a special arts card next on hit if there's a defeated battle member. His special skill destroys all your own cards, randomly draws 4 new ones. Restores own ki by 15, plus 20% to damage inflicted, plus 20% to next strike arts damage inflicted, and charges his own unique gauge. On his ultimate skill, he deals supreme size damage, has plus 50% to ultimate damage, nullifies enemies' health restoration when it reaches 0 effect, and also nullifies unfavorable element factors if there's a defeated battle member. So you can kind of see a trend here, obviously regarding the defeated battle members. He boosts Vegeta Clan and Blue with his Zenkai boost. He boosts future Vegeta Clan and Hybrid Saiyan with his Z boost, which is all really, really good. And yeah, I'd say in general, he's really quite solid. He is a strike unit, which is obviously really big. And when we talk about his passives, that's where things can get a little bit interesting. So in terms of his passives, obviously, quite a few big changes here. I would say the really, really, really big changes are obviously the 2 new passives that we have. So when we look at, for example, the vanishing step mechanics. So he's got quite a few vanishing step mechanics. When the enemy vanish steps, they gain a whole bunch of debuffs to card draw speed, etc. Whereas he gains a whole bunch of buffs once he vanish steps. Which is really, really solid. And then depending on how many battle members are defeated, he gets huge damage boosts, which can be really, really solid. So that's definitely something that's obviously quite strong. And then on his baseline passives, he's still around about the same. Not a lot of defense on him. He does get progressively more defense. He gains 10% damage reduction for every attack he receives. But up to 30%, but the thing is the big thing is the activation of the unique gauge, which allows him to restore his health, which is pretty important, and then obviously boosts his arts card draw speed, etc. As a unit, you saw his equipment mainly focusing on strike gear, heavily focusing on strike gear. There's some really, really good pickups for Trunks, fortunately, which is really, really good. You can also pick up the Jiren strike gear, the platinum gear, which is also very, very helpful. It just depends on whether you want some health or not. Trunks is actually really lucky in that he has a huge amount of really, really, really good gear, which I think is quite good. And yeah, in general is just pretty solid. Well, at least for me, I find it to be pretty solid. So definitely some good stuff for Trunks. I would say overall a really, really strong selection of gear. You can't really go too wrong. I think there's quite a few notable pieces. The ones I have are probably your easiest bare minimums to get, but I think you can definitely get a little bit more crazy with it if you want to. It just depends on how much you value things like health, because the thing is, Trunks is never going to be the craziest defensive unit, but giving him health does help, because like I said, his unique gauge activates on hits. He gains damage reduction with every hit received, so having that extra bit of health does tend to help out. There's plenty of gear though, so don't worry too much about it. You have plenty of options. Realistically speaking, yeah, you got more options and you know what to do with probably. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think overall at the end of the day, yeah, really, really, really solid stuff. So yeah, gear-wise, there's plenty of great choices. You got all-out offensive gears. You've got solid defensive gears. Realistically speaking, there's just plenty of really awesome stuff to run him with, and yeah, I really do think he's really, really good from that perspective. So yeah, I really, really like his build. So yeah, using him, obviously, Future Saga is still pretty relevant, still pretty solid team. Hybrid Saiyan's probably there or thereabouts. It's always kind of solid. I think the big thing is always going to be how much are you looking to get out of him as a unit? As a closer, as a blue, he's really solid. I think Vegito blue is still pretty relevant in the meta. So Trunks does have a position. Yeah, he does have a space to kind of work around and be effective in, which I think is really, really good. So there's definitely that can be considered quite a good foundation for him. So I would definitely suggest taking a look at that. But yeah, there is also obviously that consideration. What else does Trunks bring to the table? And I think, as a unit, there's always that question of, are closers enough? Like, there are situations where, you're going to be in the up. Does Trunks do enough when there's not 2 defeated enemies? Do you really need a unit that does well when you don't have a lot of enemies or allies defeated? That kind of question. I think for me, Trunks does fine without his final 2 enemy boost. I think he's still really, really good. Obviously, maybe people might value a situation where Trunks is more heavily focused on being a closer, but I think he still does fine even outside of that situation. As a blue, I think he's got enough space in the meta to be relevant, and I think he's decent. I definitely think one thing I would have liked, it does feel a bit weird to have nullification of health restoration and 0 effects, whilst also simultaneously making a big portion of his passive related to when he does defeat an enemy that has health restoration effects, they come back at 30% health, or 30% less health. It is still relevant because obviously it's for situations where you defeat enemies without using your skill or your finishing move. But the thing is most players know who the health restoration with 0 units are, and so most players will naturally hold or use their ultimate skills to kind of counteract that. So I think kind of that feels like a bit of a waste, at least for me, especially considering how many units just have nullification of health when it reaches 0 effects basically for free. So that does feel like a little bit of a waste. But obviously, it's going to just depend on you. And it's going to just depend on what you essentially like feel with him as a unit in the team. I think at the end of the day, and how you basically like feel you can use him, essentially. For me, I enjoy him the way he is. I think there's probably, for me, the best Trunks unit in the game right now, without a doubt. And I think, he's really, really, really solid. I think he's good in a lot of situations. I think he's a great damage dealer. I think his blue element typing is still solid enough in the meta. There's no real hardcore green counter that's come out recently, which might change with the release of the new units. But I think at the end of the day, I think he's solid. I think he's really, really solid and just really, really good. So for me, I like him a lot. I think he's awesome. And I really, really enjoyed using him. For me, he's the kind of guy that's, going to be a unit that doesn't have a long lifespan in the game. From the perspective of the moments I think there's a solid green, you're not going to see a lot of them because there's going to be too much coverage against him as a type. But he could see resurgences because of how strong that final blow is. When all the stars do align for him, not that it's too hard, it's not that it's super hard to do that, but when all the stars do align, he does big damage. But that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.